welcome back to our seasonal healing series. And we are still in the winter season talking about the water element. And another thing that the water element covers is bones. And so the bones, the teeth, and then arthritic type complaints are all water element. And so I just want to get into a little bit of that. Dr. Christopher has some wonderful formulas for the bones, and it's a natural herbal calcium formula. And so sometimes when we take calcium pills, they're from inorganic sources of calcium, like limestone. That's where calcium carbonate comes from. And so that type of calcium actually doesn't absorb super well in the body, and it can actually just settle in the joints and cause worse joint problems. And it can also contribute to kidney stone formation. So you really don't want to be taking rock right into your body in that form. So in a plant will take those minerals, the hard minerals, out of soil, and we'll take them up into the plant and we'll bind them, or what is called a chelation process. And that chelation process is what transforms that mineral into an organic form of calcium that our body can actually use. And so getting your calcium from an herb or a food source is going to be way more absorbable and then not have the bad side effects of settling in your joints and your kidneys. So this herbal calcium formula from Dr. Christopher has some herbs like horsetail, which is also called shade grass, and that's a high calcium silica content type of herb. And so that is going to also increase your body's ability to utilize calcium. That silica does that. And then we have oat straw. So oat straw and nettles, they are just high mineral type herbs. So they're rich in calcium, magnesium, potassium. And then you've got some lobelia. Lobelia has its own trace minerals in it, and then it's also one of those catalyst herbs, like I've mentioned, that helps the whole formula work better together. So for good healthy bones, you want to be getting those minerals. Your bones are your structure, your foundation, and that's why it's part of that deep water element. It's the deepest part of our body is our bones. And so they give us structure and strength for everything else to build on. So it's important to keep those bones healthy. And now let's talk a little bit about our teeth. So our teeth are also bone, obviously. And so we want to take care of them also with a good calcium source. But you can have strong, healthy bones in most of your body and then still have problems with your teeth. And that's because your teeth are subject to a lot of things that go in your mouth that you eat, like acids on your food. And you can have different infections in your mouth if you don't keep your mouth clean and have good oral hygiene. And so one thing that Dr. Christopher put together is called a herbal tooth and gum powder. And it's got things in it like the horsetail for the good silica content. And then it also has white oak bark and bayberry, which are great astringents. And astringent means it tightens the tissues, and so that's going to really help with tightness and strength in your gums. And then it has cloves. Cloves helps to fight bacterial, viral infections in the mouth. So that's good for that. And then prickly ash bark is a natural analgesic for tooth pain. There's some peppermint and stevia that are mostly for adding to the flavor and freshness of this formula. And with the cloves, it's going to have a nice flavor. And then slippery elm. Slippery elm is going to also be healing to the gums. And then it is one of those herbs that is a good bone and cartilage builder. And so it's going to help with any breakdown of enamel and any repairing of the gums that's needed. That slippery elm can help with that, along with the horsetail with the silica and calcium in that. So some people use this formula in place of toothpaste and they just dip a wet brush right in the powder and brush with the powder. You can do that. Some people want to still have that soapy, lathery feeling of toothpaste. You can dip the toothpaste that's on your toothbrush into the powder and then brush with your toothpaste and the powder together, and that works too. And then you can also make little wet packs of the powder to pack into your teeth and gums at night if you need to help any specific tooth and gum issues. So that's helpful for that. Okay, now looking at some joint issues. So Dr. Christopher has a really comprehensive joint formula. And so we know there's a lot of joint formulas out there that are just geared with things to reduce inflammation and to help stimulate cartilage growth. And so those are things like the glucosamine sulfate and chondroitin with, your turmeric. And those are very common formulas out there that are good helping the joints when there is cartilage breakdown. But Dr. Christopher's joint formula is geared more towards arthritis type complaints where there is inflammation, where there may be some buildup of nodules on the joints in like osteoarthritis, and also rheumatoid arthritis where there is just constant pain and inflammation. So his joint formula, which is what it's called, has got herbs in it that are going to help cleanse the blood. And so that's going to help clear out and detoxify any toxins in the blood that are irritating those tissues around the joints. And then there's hydrangea root in it, and that's specific for dissolving deposits. And so if there is nodules from osteoarthritis, the hydrangea can help the body to get rid of those. And then there are herbs that do help with the inflammation, like yucca. And then we have a lot of herbs that increase circulation. So one issue with a lot of complaints is stagnation in the blood. And a lot of pain is caused from stagnation and a lack of good circulation. And so you want herbs that are going to increase circulation, getting blood flow to the area and pulling it away so that you can pull out toxins and get nutrients to the area. And cayenne pepper is one of those that does that. Also bergamot tea. And then we have sarsaparilla, and that is specific to the rheumatoid type arthritis, where it is more just a chronic inflammation. There's not those nodules on the joints. And so that helps do a deeper detox in that area. And then we have a few herbs for nerve pain. And so like valerian, wild lettuce, black cohosh, those are all nervines. And so they're going to help feed the nerves to the area and reduce pain in the nerves. So overall, it is a very comprehensive formula for really just cleansing, detoxifying, reducing inflammation, getting circulation moving, and then targeting those nodules and the chronic inflammation of those types of arthritis. So these are great formulas. If you have the arthritis, it's good to also add that herbal calcium on top of it. Do the joint formula with the herbal calcium. And then if you have teeth issues, do the tooth powder plus take the herbal calcium. And the herbal calcium comes in both a liquid extract and in capsules. And the joint formula, I believe, comes in just capsules. So these are Dr. Christopher's amazing formulas for the bones and the teeth and joints. And just a couple things to go with that, since it is winter season and a good time to deal with issues in the water element. Then if you haven't seen the dentist in a while, it's a great time to go get a checkup. There actually are some natural dentists out there these days, and I've been to one. Synergy Dental is a great place that you can go, that they avoid toxic fluoride treatments. They don't do metal mercury fillings. They do ozone treatments on the teeth to help fight bacteria. They do even porcelain implants instead of just metal implants if you need a tooth implant. So they do a lot of natural procedures, and I highly recommend them. They have an office in Mill Creek, Utah and in Linden, Utah. So that's where I'm from. So maybe you can find a more natural dentist in your area if you're not from Utah. But I highly recommend that. They're wonderful, and you don't want to be putting more toxins in your teeth and your mouth. If you've got metals in your jaw or in your teeth, it's not going to be a good situation, especially with mercury fillings, as those dissolve and release fumes throughout the years that your body just keeps inhaling the mercury. That can cause issues in the brain and other issues in the body. I had mine removed when I was a teenager because I did have some mercury fillings back when I was a kid. So avoid those if you can. Make sure you get the porcelain type ones. So there are some reflex points on the feet for the teeth. If you think of the big toe as your head, the front or the top of the toe, on the middle towards the bottom is the teeth area. So you can just rub on that and stimulate the nerve reflex points of the teeth. Okay, till next time.